All right. It took a couple of tries to go live, but here we are. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day or evening it is we are. I'm Diana Rankin, and I thank you for being with me today. I'm trying to do the live. I know I'm supposed to announce that and have chats ahead of time, so forgive me. Um, just not quite there electronically yet. But we do have our message from Phillip this week. And excuse me, we're going to look at one of your questions, which is how do we get through the tough times? How do we deal with all that's going on? And I have to say, Philip's question wasn't quite what I was expecting. So it didn't give us specifics about what to do. So I want to just suggest to you, it's a little more esoteric, and certainly I'm going to read that to you shortly. By the way, this is the 50th week of the year, and what is that, December? I have to look at the calendar again. I thought I had it memorized. I think it's the 10th to the 16th. It is. It's the 10th through the 16th. But for some specific ways of how, because basically what Phillip is going to say is, a smile is important. And so if you want to help improve your smiles, and I'll let Phillip explain that. One of my books, Joy, the Art of Living a Happy Life, is 52 practices to greater happiness, greater joy. And a lot of these practices will help you if you're going through a tough time. There are 52 because what works for one person doesn't work for the next. And then another quick announcement for those of you who are interested in taking my Awakening to Deeper Intuition. The workshop will be held the first day of spring, March 20th, through the 22nd. It's a weekend, very intense weekend. It's going to be held at Sunshine Therapeutics, which is a lovely venue there. It's run by a beautiful woman named Joyce Metzger, and it's going to be in Waynesville, Ohio. And there is a historic hotel, which I'll be staying at that weekend with some other friends, and some other attendees. So Awakening to Your Deeper Intuition, you can pick up a brochure online, or you can call me about it. There is, I hate to use the word limited, but there are only so many we can keep and sign up in the room and deal with. So you'll want to get your reservation in early. Okay, we will get our message from Phillip. For those of you, welcome all of you. So glad you're coming. I keep threatening myself that I'm going to spend a day sitting at the computer working through all of your comments because I'm so grateful for them. And even thank you. Hello, Lillian. So glad to have you on live with us. So the live comments, those that you post, even those that you send to me, and I'm grateful for them. I do read them. Responding to them takes a little bit longer. I'm just way behind, so forgive me. But this is an oracle book, and each page has a different wisdom, and we are going to get our wisdom from Phillip on that. But first, I want to read you Phillip's response when I ask, how do we get through these tough times? These are not, I've got to move my tea mug here before I knock it over with my glass of water. Forgive me. I should have done that earlier and just get so hung up on the electronics. But I want to read you what Phillip answered when, and by the way, Daisy's right here. She's sitting over here on her big bed at the edge of my office, or in the corner. Well, it's not even a corner. It's just toward one of the walls over here. And she's doing well. She's, like all of us, aging a bit. And I asked this question because if you ask it, and please send me your questions. Hello, Albert. Thank you for coming, and good day to you. Good day tells me you might be from Australia. I always think of that as an Australian remark. Anyway, we are in tough times. We are in some of the toughest energy I have ever experienced in my life. And as you know, because I tell it so often, I'm 74. I'm proud of that because I lived a few years. Well, hello, a different. Hi, Daisy, Lillian says. So Daisy's right here. The kitties aren't allowed to come in while I'm filming. They're a little too um, distracting because they get on top of the computer. Anyway, this is tough energy that we're in, and it is. Um, I'm going to have to stop looking at the comments right now. I'll look at those later because I want to read what Philip is saying. But Albert, I see your comment. And for some reason, my screen cuts off the edge of the comments, so I'm not sure what that's about. But anyway, these are tough times. And I ask about how do we get through our personal tough times, and how do we get through those tough times when we're with the world, with what's affecting the country and what's affecting our world. So let's see what Philip has to say about that. And then I'll see if I can. For your questions, I'm asking that they be universal questions that will affect everybody. And so any personal questions, I'm happy to schedule a session with you. The information is below. So anyway, here's what Philip said. Let us begin by saying there is both a spiritual and a human aspect to the answer. The spiritual perspective is not the same as the human perspective, and both must be taken into consideration. We shall talk first about the spiritual perspective. This is indeed the most difficult to comprehend, and even more difficult to practice in one's life. However difficult though, the more humans are able to bring the spiritual perspective into their lives, the more joyous and magical they will find their lives. It must also be said that as one individual changes from the human emotion to bring in the spiritual perspective, the world is changed. By this we simply mean that a smile passed along creates 1,000 smiles in the universe. The 1,000 is relative. The smile could easily say 1 million or 100 million. The number is actually infinite. The idea is that one simple smile vibrates throughout eternity for all who choose to experience it. From the human perspective, it may be more difficult to smile even if the person knows the power of a smile, which few do, sadly. It is sad. There are so many humans, there are so many of us who don't know the power of a smile. So I hope all of you watching know the power of a smile. Keeping that in mind, let's look larger. From a spiritual perspective, all is unfolding as it is unfolding. There is no evil person or deed that should be destroyed. There is energy that can be harmful to the human condition. At the same time, this harmful energy may serve a higher purpose. Let us look at examples. A person may grieve deeply over the loss of a loved one's human body, but that loss may also free the human to do what their life is asking of them. What we deem as bad, the death of a loved one, may also be experienced as good, the freedom to live more fully a life of greater service. And you know, I find that true in my life, that I loved my mother to the nth degree. I grieved heavily at her death. But it also, I never could have done psychic work with her alive, partly out of respect for her and what she believed, and partly out of respect for our relationship. So I understand what Phillip is saying here, and I think many of you are as well. Not easy, this human life, is it? In the human experience, life may often feel harsh or painful. Humans are unable to find the gifts in their despair. In the spiritual perspective, human life is meant to be experienced. From the human perspective, many of the experiences are judged as pleasant or unpleasant, desirable or undesirable, and so on. There must always be a balance. The human life is to be lived and experienced. It is not for all to live on the mountaintop, but some to live in the shadow. By this we mean human life is to be experienced fully. There are those who hold the light so others may experience the shadow. You may hear one of the kitties. I think that might be Lily out there. Oh no, sorry, that was Sophia, the goddess. How dare the goddess be locked out, right? Well, just as she's the kitty. Humans think of those who live in the shadow as evil. This is not so. However, from the human perspective, there are acts of evil, and if committed by humans, certainly give reason for some to think of each other as evil. Once experienced fully, once ex, the shadow is experienced fully. It says once experienced fully the shadow, but that's a little harder to understand. So what we're really saying there is once the shadow is fully experienced. A person may then choose to live on the mountaintop in the sunshine, in the light, so to speak. Here, the person begins to learn balance. They carry the memory of the shadow, turn away from it, but then learn the balance of walking in both the light and the dark. And if you're listening to me, I think you have been to the mountaintop. There is no denying the existence of the shadow. And this is, I think, really, pay attention, because this is what's really important. There is no denying the existence of the shadow in the human experience. The same is true of the light. To deny either is to lack balance, thus missing the full expression of the human experience. You ask how to get through this, as you said, tough times. It is simply stated, but most difficult in practice. Do not deny the shadow. Walk through it with the light of grace, allowing your spiritual self to guide you. That's what Phillip is telling us. That's how we get through times. We bring as much of our spiritual self in through our human self. And that allows us to hopefully live life a little bit easier. I'm not sure easier is the right word. Let me see here. Albert, you're asking a personal question, but I'm going to make it universal. Albert's asking about encountering, having an out-of-body experience and encountering, as I say, part of the messages are cut off on the YouTube screen here. So I'm not sure if I don't see any way of moving that over either. I want to say, first of all, anytime we are having out of body experiences, let's make sure we're doing so in love, and hopefully you have a guide taking you through. Out of body experiences can happen very naturally as we develop spiritually. Often in sleep, we go to other realms without even realizing it. But again, if we have a guide, that's always helpful. My rule of thumb is whatever we experience, whether in our human life or when traveling through universes, is simply remember, be love, let love come to you, and you can walk through the shadow as long as you're in love, and nothing will harm you. Again, from the spiritual perspective. From the human perspective, can we be harmed if we're walking through the shadow? Yes, we can. Because there are good people, and bad things happen to them, or what we consider bad things. So we have to keep looking at life with the balance, not ignoring the shadow, but looking at life as much as we can from the spiritual perspective. What is the gift here? What is the higher perspective? Let's see what Phillip has to say for us, shall we? Now think left page or right page, because remember each page has something on it for us. So left page, right page. And if you see me looking over here, it's because I've got a bigger screen over here and what's on there. So welcome all of you who have come. So left page, right page. I'm hearing right page, and that's where my finger stops. So right page says, I am always amazed at how what we've just said, and then we get a message that just aligns right up with what we've said. And here's our message: you will not find light by analyzing darkness. You will not find light by analyzing darkness. So simply walk through it, recognize it, but stay in the balance. And if you have to let one part of us balance over the other, I say balance a little extra light. Too much, I always say, look at the trees and pick a really hardy tree, like a good, strong white oak or red oak. And the trees around where I live, because I live in the woods, I can see those deep, deep roots of the trees. So I know I have to stay grounded, but I can also see how those limbs way up high are soaring. That's what we need to do, my friend. We can soar, but we need to also stay balanced. We can walk through the darkness and shine our light on it. You will not find light by analyzing darkness. Don't get caught in it. Just keep walking. On the left side, it says security and opportunity are not necessarily synonymous. Boy, that's the truth, isn't it? Security and opportunity are not necessarily synonymous. If you guessed right page with me, that's our message. If you heard left page, that's simply, you know what? That's a personal message for me. Often we want that security of what the next step is. And I will say it's generally an American thing that we want the whole picture before we're willing to take a step. And security is very important to most Americans, not all. And that's unrealistic. The whole picture is only shown to us as we take steps and walk toward it. So we may not have that security. All right, my friends, thank you for being with me. Thank you for those, Albert and Lillian, who commented while we're live. And thank you for your comments below. Feel free to contact me if you do want a private session. I'm happy to work with you. My friends, as we come into the holiday season, be safe, use your intuition, be careful, and remember the true spirit of the holiday season. Love. Thank you, Lillian. I love you. Daisy loves you. The kitties love you. We all love you here. Thank you for accepting that love, passing it on, but taking it in. And thank you for loving us. Until next week, or please do feel free to look at any of my other videos. I have all kinds of things out there that I even forget I have. I love you, my friends. Until next week. Bye. I'm going to end this now. Not yet.